I love this. This comes from the Federalist today. Everything that Democrats claim is a threat to democracy. Okay? Have you noticed that? Everything seems to be. Well, here's the list. Donald Trump, of course, right? Threat to democracy. Then Republicans.
Just generally.
Threat to democracy. Well, first it was MAGA Republicans. And now it's just Republicans. Okay? Ted Cruz. Threat to democracy. Josh Hawley. Threat to democracy. Ron DeSantis. Of course he is. He's an extreme threat to democracy, quoting. Dr. Oz, an impaired Fetterman who doesn't pose a threat to our democracy is better than a polished Oz who does. That's what's at stake here.
Yeah.
Oz is a threat to our democracy.
They're doing their best to find a path through that.
Is this crazy? Who buys this stuff?
I don't know who buys that. I will say we have Selena Zito on today, who's like the reporter in Pennsylvania on this stuff. I've not read it yet. I'm interested to talk to her about it.
I read
this.
New piece. She has a new op-ed piece. She is one of my favorite reporters because she doesn't live in the big cities. She lives in Pennsylvania, and she never takes the freeway. She never takes an airplane. She will drive to wherever she is to report on something because she wants to get a feel for the real people. And so when she's doing a story, she just kind of hangs out where all of the real people are. That way she's not an outsider. You know, she kind of has a bead on the pulse.
You're describing this like she's an alien. That's journalism. What you're describing is just the definition. I know.
That is an alien today.
That's what made me laugh. It's like the typical reporter now literally just looks at Twitter, searches for their keywords, puts a bunch of tweets in the story, and sends it to the editor.
Right.
Where Selena
and the editor says, wait. You can't say that. You got to put in there a threat to democracy.
Right. They insert it. Selena actually goes and talks to people, and it's why her reporting has been so good, especially over the past couple cycles.
Accurate. Yeah. Accurate. Really accurate. So she's joining us, talk about the fallout from the Fetterman debate, and she's like the only I've been waiting to talk to her all week. She's the only voice I will trust on what's really happening on the ground. Also, threat to democracy now is Tudor Dixon. She's, quote, a huge threat to our democracy. Ron Johnson is a threat to our democracy. I like this. Legitimately conducted elections. The Time magazine, American democracy cannot survive unless the far right is marginalized. Here's how to do it.
Oh, good.
That's an article in Time magazine.
Thank you, Time.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Should Republicans win, they will certainly attempt to end our democracy as we know it in their states.
Obviously. That's definitely the main thing we're looking for. If anything, the American right has been against the Constitution all this time.
The whole time.
The entire time.
We hate it.
And we just don't like it. Even though we talk about it all the time to fool you guys. But generally speaking, we just dislike our system so much.
Right.
It's not you guys on the left that are constantly criticizing it and lighting cities on fire. That's not it.
Do you remember, Stu, when we talked about, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Do you remember when we talked about the Fabian Society? What do you recall from that?
Oh, gosh. You're bringing...
Start with a window. Do you remember the window? Stained glass window? Oh, wow. You didn't learn a damn thing.
Well, I wasn't listening to the show. I should point that out. No, I do. It's been a long time.
The show?
I did. I watched the show a lot. I learned a lot back then. And then other meaningless information has entered my brain and has won the battle against that particular series of shows. Apparently. You'll start talking about it and I'll remember.
Okay, so listen to this. So you remember the Fabian Socialists? Let me just recap. Fabian Socialist was started by George Bernard Shaw and a couple of other. They started the London School of Economics.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody loves the London School. Oh, the London School of Economics. Yeah. You know who's involved in it now? George Soros. So it was started. This school was started by the Fabian Socialists, and the shield or their logo, if you will, is an actual wolf in sheep's clothing. Not real subtle. I think we got it here. But listen to this. The window, they're talking about this stained glass window, which I didn't know. I was doing some research on this the other day. It was stolen in 1978, and it was gone till like 2002. They didn't know where it was. And then it shows up at Sotheby's and they sell it. And I'm wondering, wait, how do you... It was stolen.
Usually stolen stuff doesn't get auctioned by the big auction houses.
I have no idea. Anyway, the window explicitly reflects the goal of the Fabian Society to portray an outward role contrary to its real character, to use deception in pursuing its ultimate aim. Specifically, a wolf's in sheep clothing is the image that appears in the shield above the world being wrought in the Fabian mold. The biblical reference comes from the New Testament and warning where Jesus was warning about false prophets that come in sheep's clothing, but apparently ravaging wolves. Authors G. Edward Griffin, in his book The Creature from Jekyll Island, had given voice to this reality that this shield image highlights the distinguishing feature of the Fabians as compared to the communist. Fabians desire to create a socialist state using subversive tactics opposed to the communist method of revolution and violence. We talked about this in 2008, but that's what you're seeing now. They're just so desperate, and they no longer have the media to give it credibility. Before, they used to be able to say, that's a threat to democracy. And the media would parrot that, and everybody would go, that's a threat to democracy. Now, we're on to the game. All of the wolves and sheep, we're like, guys, we see the teeth. We know you're not a sheep. We know now, and it's phenomenal to see once you wake up how clear everything becomes. It's really, I mean, this is biblical. This is, I don't know. We're living in an incredible period of history right now.
It's also helpful when they put the actual wolf in sheep's clothing in their logo.
Right.
That really is helpful to
Right.
help us see it clearly.
But still, people in England don't.
People still don't.
I mean, it was the Monster from Jekyll Island, that book that was the first to really reveal, hey, by the way, look at the window. It's crazy. Let's see. And you know what? Selena Zito talks about that. Let me just give you this. She talks about that in the Fetterman thing. Where is she? Here it is. The painful story of how John Fetterman arrived at Tuesday night's humiliation. Listen to this. This is amazing. Most of the voters watching had surely seen him speak at small rallies where he struggled on the best, but he seemed okay. But now they were fully realizing that he was just repeating memorized lines and could not actually comprehend when others tried to converse with him. Many of those watching had no idea how bad Fetterman's health was, causing disbelief that no one had reported this sooner. Many were angry that Democrats and reporters knew about this the whole time. One reporter who did mention Fetterman's inability to converse, NBC News reporter Dasha Burns, was viciously attacked for her dispassionate reporting, not just from Fetterman's campaign and supporters, but also blue-check journalists on Twitter and her own NBC News colleague, Savannah Guthrie. Okay? Unfortunately, the accurate story about Fetterman instead became a false story about Burns and even an attempt to destroy her career. This included a veiled threat from Fetterman's wife, who used her large platform to demand an apology from Burns while threatening consequences for her reporting. One has to wonder what those consequences would have been. And so the truth about John Fetterman's cognitive abilities remained buried, a secret, but a secret well known to journalists with personal access to him since late July and to those who have observed him failing to comprehend anything his supporters say to him on the rope line. They said and wrote nothing. The question is, why? Were they afraid they would receive the vicious cancel treatment and threats that Burns got? Were they afraid they would hurt the political team that they were not so secretly rooting for? Either reason is a stain on the journalistic profession. Those culpable should really never again mock anyone who questioned the honesty of the press. Then she goes into how the Democrats were doing the same thing. This is the way it used to work. This is why they try everything to silence you. They do everything they can to control social media, because social media really is. Talk radio was the only defense. Before social media, it was programs like this and Rush Limbaugh that allowed you to talk, allowed the voice of middle America to be heard. No other format allowed that. We also, because of Rush Limbaugh, had millions and millions and millions of listeners, and that hadn't happened before. So that was the beginning of the end. I worked, 30 years to gain an audience, learn enough to be able to have people want to hear what I have to say and trust that I'm not a complete idiot. I am an idiot, but not a complete idiot. But the audience now has an audience. You can have an audience. You most likely do, even if it's a couple hundred on Facebook. You have an audience every day. That's what they've got to stop, because that's the regular person, whether they're the crazy guy that nobody talks to down, on the corner that everybody's like, hey, kids, don't talk to him. And definitely don't take any candy from him. He's a teacher. You got that guy. Nobody ever heard him. But that guy who's like, pedophilia is not that bad. He's now got, 5,000 people because there's 5,000 people that believe that. That's what they try to use as a threat to democracy. Are those people who have lived amongst us forever, but they were quiet. I'd rather know who they are. But the media needs to build those voices up to scare you. So you go, somebody's got to stop this. And you go running into the arms of the people who are trying to silence everybody, not just the pedophiles, everybody. But now, because the genie's out of the bottle, and with Elon Musk yesterday taking over Twitter, last night, 11 o'clock, he tweeted, "The bird is free." Things are going to change. You don't trust the media anymore. What's sad is a lot of people now are getting their news from TikTok. TikTok. I've never seen anybody with a clue on TikTok.